It's time that we put this old hay wagon to use. It was a header cart wagon, basically, I guess you could say, but unfortunately the combine just didn't go high enough, and it's really not at the proper angle for storing the heads on here. They did both fit, but it's just not feasible to really use it when I need another piece of equipment to lift them off. So we're gonna put this to use, and in doing that, I need to remove all these cross boards that are on here already, just to where we have the stringers or the runners, whatever you want to call them, running the length of the wagon. I think it is like 16 feet. So I need to get all these off. I might have to remove the brackets. I'm not sure of that yet, but I'll have to see if those need to come off or not. Basically, what's going to happen is the chicken house that is up there, I want to move it. I want to move it out of the woods, and I think I'm going to move it close to the garden here, and I'll show you kind of where I'm thinking. Ignore the garden that is just a garden full of weeds at the moment. But basically, where the sweet corn is planted right here, or where it was planted, it's all dead and dried up now. I want to mow a big section of this out, and I think chicken house is up there. It's up in the woods. We have hawks, we have tons of predators, raccoons, and in fact, yesterday there was a fox chasing a chicken out around in the hayfield, and I think it did end up getting it. So I want to move it, and I want to put it in here, and I want to put it on the wagon so it's easy to move if I ever decide to later. And again, all this stuff is temporary down here. When we build a house up on the 2-acre property that we have, everything's going to need moved. So this will be one step closer to doing that. So I want to put it here, and then we're going to fence in, probably going that way. And how we're going to do that is these cattle panels. So we have 5 cattle panels. These are like 50 inches by 16 foot long. We have 5 of these. That should put us about 20 feet if I did my math right. So we'll do like a hoop house for the run, then nothing can get out and nothing can get in. I'm gonna start by trying to remove all these boards running the length. So all that we're left with are these. And I do know I'm probably gonna end up having to maybe reattach some of these, but I wanna get these off first because they have to come off. Dad and I managed to rip this whole thing apart in pretty short order. We're gonna let all the bolts that stick through, because those aren't gonna be in the way. It's not a big deal that they're there. A lot of times what you have your hay wagons, you have your stringers kind of coming up front at an angle, which these were, basically to allow a little bit more turning radius on it. This is turning pretty sharp the way it is. Back in the back, it's 36 inches apart, and I made it 36 inches apart up here. I do need to fasten these. They are not fastened at all to any brackets of any sort, so I need to do that. And this thing still turns pretty sharp the way it is, so I don't need it to turn on a dime. That's not that big of a deal to me. So I will get everything fastened, and then I'm gonna mount our 4x4s on here, get these across everything, and then I think I'll tie in maybe some 2x4s running back through as well, just to keep it, add some stability to everything. And then I think we'll be ready to set the chicken house on here. However, we have to go up there and rip apart all the fencing that we do have up there currently, because we can't get anything in there to lift it the way it is. The back is fastened. I got a 2x4 in here, kind of add some stability. I ended up taking the tires off on both sides and the wheels to try and get screwed in through that way. So I got screwed up from the bottom and from the sides here. These brackets are still attached. And I'm using these long, they're about 6-inch long lag screws, more or less, I guess you would say. They're made for like tying your trusses in, or your plates, I guess, beams. Again, I should probably bolt everything fast, but I think these are pretty heavy. They'll do what I want it to do. It's not like this is going to be pulled around a lot. It's going to basically be moved from up there to down here, and that's where it's going to stay. And then when I go to move it down the road, it's going to get moved one more time. So I don't really anticipate this being an issue, and all the weight's going to be down. So it really shouldn't hinder anything, especially since we're going to have supports in between, so it can't like flip or roll from side to side. Apparently, just by looking at this, it looks like the rear tires are actually a little bit on the taller side. Hopefully the 4x4s get us up high enough. I think it will, but worst case scenario, absolute worst case, we're gonna end up having to just put some 2x on the top. I'm pretty sure these are sturdy enough. You see this one is cracked right there, but it is not through the other side. I should have got just 16-foot 4x4s, because you can do that. However, for whatever reason, it's cheaper to buy 8-footers. Doesn't really make sense because it's more cuts that I feel like the sawmill has to make, but I don't know. There's a lot of things in this world that don't make sense to me, so I just got 8-footers. It should tie it together enough. We do have a little bit of rotting going on the top of this, but it is solid underneath, so we'll just try and make do with what we have. And these will go straight down through like that, and they should grip enough of that that should make it pretty solid. Boy, that's rotten there. Hopefully that's not the whole way across. Nope, it's pretty good and solid there. What, buddy? Oh yeah, that should hold.
Daddy.
What? Huh?
Oh, where's the...
Day 2 of the chicken coop project. We got the big Kubota down here. I think this is gonna help us. We'll hook the wagon up to this, and that way we'll have to go up the road and turn around. That way we're facing the right way to come down here, and I think that'll be easier. I have the wagon the majority of the way done. I worked on it this morning a little before work, so this is pretty much ready to go. I do need to finish tying these boards in and put some more cross members, I think, in between there. That way, just to tie everything together a little bit better. I have to get the final couple screws here. My battery ended up dying, so one was charging all day. Get these tied in, add like 2 more cross members, I think, in here. Probably do 2x6s, maybe. Or maybe just one in the center to kind of tie these together, something like that. Or one here, one back there. And then it'll kind of tie in the main running beams here, along with the 4x4s we put on. So I think that'll be sufficient. We ended up tying in the boards, or the main runners, stringers, to the frame, so everything should be fastened that way as well. And then I need to drip down the fence that's up there. That way we can get the track loader in there to lift it So I think we're pretty close to being able to move that thing. I don't know how easy it's gonna be. The wagon should be done, should be ready to go. I'm gonna double check everything and make sure. I added some cross bracing in here. As I said, we had one in the front and the back, but I added one in the center here too, just to kind of keep everything from being able to flip over or roll or anything like that. It shouldn't because it's fastened everywhere else, but just precautionary. Definitely a big transformation from having all that lumber on there to what it is now. Now the next task begins with tearing down this old hoop house that we just did not all that long ago. This will be a chore a little bit, at least down here in the bottom, because there's so much dirt that washed in because of it being on a hill. I did not open the chickens today, with in hopes that I can keep them all in there, we can move it and not have to catch chickens. This is the problem with putting stuff up on a hill. All this dirt and stuff, when it rains, it washes down. Everything is down as far as the old fence goes. That wasn't actually too bad taking all that off. The worst part is going to be trying to move this because there's really not a good way of going about it. We thought about coming up through here and picking it up this way and just driving forward, but it's way too much of a slope there. So Dad has leveled off a little area here. I need to pull out my ground stake there yet, but we're gonna try and pick it from the edge somehow. I don't really know how we're gonna do that because it's built up so high now, but we'll have to figure that out somehow. But then we're gonna try to kind of carry it, take it down, and put it on the wagon. So I'm not exactly sure how we're gonna do this yet, how well it's gonna work. I'll just be glad when it's on the wagon and it's out of here. New plan of attack, instead of going from the top, we're gonna try going from the bottom since there is more room underneath. So we had to kind of make a new road and level. We're gonna just try and kind of pick it up, strap it fast, take it down, and set it on the wagon. There's just no good way to do this. The best thing I could have done is built a chicken house on the wagon, but that would cost more money and more time. I think that's gonna hit, isn't it?
Oh, I'm coming down, that's why.
Yeah. You want me to get them out of the way?
Yeah. Because we're committed now. It ain't gonna do any good if it lets loose.
No. Those ones fell.
Okay. Can I lower the house now?
You can a little. Up there is higher. You'll have to keep it tilted towards you a little. Yep.
Now down?
Yeah. Yep. You
Now
could.
back?
Yeah. A little more if you need.
I'm okay right now, yeah.
Like I said, that machine should weigh more than this.
Oh, wait, a lot more than that, though.
The benefit to going this way is your weight of the machine is keeping you back too. Straight back. That way. Yup, straight.
I don't want to end up in this bank.
I know. You're good. That was a job. We got it on, and that was definitely a task. There's no doubt about that. I got it fastened. I do want to fasten it a little bit more, but it turned out pretty nice, and we definitely kept more hanging off the back as far as extra wagon length, but I wanted to keep kind of most of the weight on the ends over the wheels and the tires. So we have it centered as close as we could get. It didn't have to be perfect, but I'm gonna attempt to try and, I gotta pull forward because the wagon was starting to jackknife a little, back it up, and then we're gonna try and move it over there, kind of in the edge of the garden. I gotta figure out if I want it this side or the far side because of the spouting. The spouting leans this way, so in reversing it, it's actually gonna be the opposite side and wanting to come up the hill. So I don't know if I can move that spouting enough that I can get slope. I'll see what it looks like once it's over there, and worst case scenario, I'll have to put it on the opposite end so everything is correct. This is kind of a mock setup, more so kind of what we're going to be doing. We have some cattle panels. I think I have 5 of these. I have some fence staples to staple it fast to the house, the first cattle panel. And then before I even do any of that, I'm going to lay out another 16-footer here, and we're going to try and kind of get our base set up, and then we can lay these out and kind of figure out what we're going to do with there. I have extra fencing that I used for the goats that's going to go over the top, and I think we have enough extra fencing laying around that I don't have to buy any, because obviously predators and chickens are going to be able to fit right through these giant squares. I could do plastic, but I think that's just going to tear and it's not going to hold up. Three days of work on this is definitely paid off and definitely transformed, because we were up there with it. This wagon had the heads on it and had a whole bunch of nasty lumber on it, and now we have a chicken house on it, which is better because this thing, a chicken was roosting up there and made that nasty, but it was sitting on the ground in the back corner over there, so that was eventually going to rot the wood. It just made sense to keep that there. I tacked it fast to the board there with fence staples, and that's exactly how I'm going to fasten all these panels fast to everything, to the house, and then they'll be zip tied back through and they'll be fastened down along the bottom. At this point, I think I am going to mount the ramp up there. The ramp is actually going to stay the same because it's actually the same height, believe it or not. Don't know how that worked out, but it did, so I will throw that back on there. And then we're one step closer. I'm going to tack the first panel fast. I do need to add a board to the end on each side, and it is 8 foot wide, so that should be a decent sized pen for them. 8 foot wide by 20 feet, a hair over 20 feet. So it's not going to be as big as it was, but it should work for what we have and for the amount of birds that we have. We can add some more birds, and I do have like 20 birds that have completely outgrown the brooder that they're in right now. They need moved like yesterday, so I need to get this done, get them moved in here, and we may end up having to get rid of some roosters. This video is dragging on, unfortunately, but I do want to show the entire process of getting this together, moved, and everything put together with the run and them coming out here. So I do apologize. If you are enjoying the video so far, please drop a like. Be sure to subscribe to the channel if you're not already, and definitely stick around because there will be chickens out here. Maybe not tonight, but maybe tomorrow on day 4. The start of day 4, or I should say evening number 4. We've been working on this in the evenings. I have all the panels laid out. I did manage to add on our last section. We are doing 8 foot wide. Looking at it here, I kind of wish I would have went maybe 1-2 more cattle panel widths, but it's not hard to add that later. Just pop that apart and slide it out and add another board. It's not that big of a deal. This should be pretty good for now, and this does still leave a lot of space in the garden, so I think it's going to work. It'll be sufficient. We have rebar pins that we're going to use to pin it in so the cattle panels can't push and bow out the wood that's here. I do have to build the edges here and kind of put these panels where I need them, and we're going to put in a door similar to how we had it up top. So I'm going to jump on that. I did tear out the old goat fencing that we had up on the hill. I did that this morning before work, so I have that here ready to go. That's what I'm going to string out over the top. And if I did my math correctly, we need about 80 feet of wire, and I have, I think, 100 feet there. So we should be sufficient with what we need to cover this, and we shouldn't have to piece anything else in. First panel I pretty much for the most part have secured. I am tying them together with electric fence wire. We're just going down through, and that actually sturdied it up pretty well. I have a pile of this left, so that just made sense. I need to add one more in here yet because I was going every one, and that's a little overkill, so every 2 I think is pretty sufficient. It sturdies it up pretty well. Seen a lot of people using zip ties. I just think over time with the elements and the sun and everything, it's gonna eventually make those snap. So I'm using wire for this. When I put the other wire on the top, I'll probably zip tie that, but for the structural support of it, I'm just gonna use wire. Cattle panels are fast, everything's stapled. Shaking it, it's pretty sturdy. Had to add kind of, I guess, some nailers in here because I wasn't quite close enough. And reason being for that is because of where I had the 2x6. I couldn't get any closer than the tire, so it's off. If I would have caught it sooner, I would have shifted everything down, and that way I could have been inside that tire track, and then this could have been tight against, and I could have stapled it all the way along here, and it would have been a lot better. It's definitely not going to go anywhere, so I'm not really worried about it. But at this point, I want to get the gate mounted, and then I want to start stringing some wire over the top of this. And sun is going down very fast. I'm just really hoping that I can try and get these chickens out here tonight yet. If I can't, definitely tomorrow. Perfect. Unfortunately, I think this is where I'm probably going to have to call it quits. I'm just not going to have enough time. I need to feed all the animals yet. We're obviously losing a lot of daylight, so tomorrow is a new day. I'll have majority of the day to be able to do this, so should easily be able to get the chickens out. I need to give them water. They haven't had any water yet, so we'll do that. I got one strand of wire up here from the goats already that we just zip tied, so hopefully that holds up. Some of the wire came apart, but I think it should do the trick. They're not going to be able to get through that, so I basically just cut 16-foot lengths and drape it over the top, and then we fasten it. So need to do that the rest of the way out through, close our ends in, add a board at the top, and then we should be good to let them out. Back at it today. I want to try and get to the point where the chickens are actually out here. That's the biggest thing, and we're really close to doing that. One roll or one stretch of fence on the top here. Got to go down through, do the rest, and fill in on the end there, and then we should be able to move them out. And there's a bunch of other odds and ends and little stuff I got to do. I got to put the PVC pipe back up here and down into the water can that we had. I have some other stuff coming for that, so I don't know if we're going to tackle that or not right this second, but the biggest thing is getting this done. Everything along the side is done, obviously up until the end, and the only thing we have left to do is close in the end gaps here and fill in a board at the top, which I may just cut these off and just run a board across, maybe move that one down. And I don't know, I ran out of zip ties, but I don't know how I want to. Obviously I could put the wire against the board there and staple them fast. As far as this side, I'm not exactly sure. Depending how I cut it, I could probably do something like this where I bend all these kind of tabs of the wire back to hold it. So either that, or maybe I could come up with a piece of wood. I don't know, I'll have to figure that out. But once I close that in, then we can finally let these chickens out, and I'm sure they're ready. They've been trapped in there all week. The new chicken house location and the chicken run is finally complete. This was a 5-day process, or shouldn't say days, but should say evenings. It was definitely a chore. The hardest part was getting the chicken house itself moved and put on the wagon, but I'm glad that worked out smoothly and that's done. The only thing I have left to do, which probably we'll worry about it another day because I don't have all the stuff I need. We got to do the PVC pipe, run that up with our barrel, plumb that in. We have a different kind of water coming instead of using the cups. One thing I am going to tackle yet today is this ground rod for the solar system. I'm just going to put it back in, and I do want to fasten some more areas under the coop to the wagon. It's not going anywhere where it is now, I know that for a fact, but it doesn't hurt to have a little bit more. The biggest thing I wanted to do is get the run ready and have this completely enclosed so the chickens could come out, and right now they can do that. So I think we're going to open the door here. I just want to make sure there's no areas where they can get in and out, so I might wire tie this chicken wire here, one on each side, just to make sure that they can't get out. Otherwise, I think we're pretty much ready to go. So there might be some other things I'm forgetting to do, but as far as the run goes, we're done with that. So we're going to open the door and let these guys out. They do seem just a touch confused because this isn't obviously the same as it was. But I think they're gonna like it. Yep, they're pretty much all out. I don't think there's any in here. Now that we have that done, we need to move the chicks that are in here that have completely outgrown the space. Yeah, they flock to the door, so it's very hard to. But yeah, you can see they have overgrown this area very much so. Solar ground is tied back in, and all the chickens or chicks or young birds, pullets, whatever, some roosters in there, but they're all moved over here as well. One actually jumped out, similar to that color kind, and then the cat came out, and I have no idea where that chicken got to. So maybe it'll turn up, but I have yet to see it. So when I do see it, I will try and catch it. But that added at least, I don't know, maybe 20 birds in here. And then obviously we have the nice run. This is definitely much better than what we had before. I don't know why I thought what I did before was gonna work, but this should be a lot better, and hopefully I don't have to deal with birds getting out anymore and coming home and having chickens running around and fox getting them or hawks. They should be protected in here. This is a lot more sturdy. Nothing's gonna tear that. So that should do that. I know this video is probably getting long at this point. We definitely do have some more things that we have to button up and do with this chicken house, but the main thing was finish the run and get them moved outside, and we accomplished that. It may have took a while, but they are making themselves right at home, scratching. A bunch of them are trying to dust, and they're digging holes already, so yeah, they're definitely good at doing that. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Be sure to drop a like. Subscribe to the channel if you're not already. And as always, I hope you have a great day, and I'll see you next time.